Connect data, automate busy work, and empower teams like nobody's business with the one platform that grows with you every step of the way. Learn how Salesforce works for small business at salesforce.com/SMB.
Hi, I'm Josh Christensen, executive producer of Inc. Podcasts, and this is From the Ground Up Fall Programming. As the summer comes to a close, we have a collection of panels from this year's Inc. Founders House in Philadelphia. In this segment, Deputy Digital Editor Graham Winfrey talks to Philadelphia Eagles center Cam Jurgens, founder of the Beef Jerky company Beef Jurgey, and former NBA All-Star Stephon Marbury, who is the chief brand officer of smart sunglasses company Chamelo Eyewear. Cam spoke about how he grew his business, while Graham asked Stephon about his first business venture. They both compare how their preparation and obstacles they overcame in their professional sports careers helped them run their business. All right, here's that conversation. Enjoy.
I'm Graham Winfrey. I'm the Deputy Digital Editor at Inc., and it is my great pleasure to introduce this panel. I've been looking forward to this conversation all month. Stephon Marbury is the Chief Brand Officer at Chamelo Eyewear and former NBA All-Star, of course. And Cam Jurgens is the founder of Beef Jurgey and current starting center for the Philadelphia Eagles. So Stephon, I'm going to start with you. Chamelo has brought some pretty cool technology to the eyewear industry. Tell us about the different products and why this is a great fit for you as a business.
Well, for me, it's innovative. It gives people the opportunity to experience something completely different in the eyewear space, which is a big space. The technology allows you to transition from light to dark, from dark to light within 0.9 seconds. So this technology is something that will be useful for all people that are living on Earth. So it's pretty cool.
And in terms of, eyewear and fashion, how does this align with, your passion and the style of apparel and accessories that you've always liked?
It's bold, it's confident, and it's something that's new, it's different. And I think for us, we continue to push the envelope by adding what she spoke about in the last panel, AI. So with the next generation of AI and with new technology equipped, we feel really confident.
And what is the AI component? Is it just when you walk from one room into the outdoors, it automatically switches the tint to your preferred color? Or what?
No, it'll do some of the things that Ray-Ban offers. It'll be able to look and see and measure calories from fruit, from vegetables.
Oh, wow.
Different, okay. Yeah. So this is the next wave of the future. We're in it as well.
Calories from beef jerky, maybe. Cam, your family's farm dates back to 1907 when your great-grandfather started Jurgens Farms in Pickrell, Nebraska?
Yeah, correct.
So tell me about what you did growing up on the farm and whether or not that gave you a taste for entrepreneurship later in life.
I don't know if it gave me a taste for entrepreneurship growing on the farm. I kind of just grew up working, and I feel like I grew a work ethic just watching my dad and my older brother. And I mean, we have cattle, corn, soybeans, hay, alfalfa. And so I was always busy doing something with my dad on the farm. And we'd always go deer hunting and go get a deer, whatever we do, and we make our deer jerky and summer sausage. And so I kind of grew up just being involved with that process of making jerky. And so I think when it came around to college, when I started this business and started selling jerky, first in the NIL space, it just it came naturally. Last name Jurgens, everybody called me Beef Jurgey. And so it was just everything with this business and thing kind of just grew organically. And it's just simple. Everything kind of has fallen into place and slowly growing ever since.
We'll get to the legendary origin story with the nickname. But first, there are a lot of jerky brands. How have you positioned Jurgey as different from some of your competitors?
Right now it's small. It started out just me, my mom, and my business partner, Matt Sichterman, and just creating a product in the NIL world. And we're thinking, this NIL started with name, image, and likeness, and you had to, use that to build a product or a brand and sell things. And now with the NIL world, it's just, you get paid money to go play. So it's a little different. But yeah, it was just really fun. It's a great experience, getting into that space and becoming a business owner and learning things as you go and just networking and figuring out. I don't feel like I know too much right now, but I feel like I knew nothing back then. And so just learning as we go in this process of, starting an LLC and getting a trademark and figuring those things out along the way and just letting it come to you and grow naturally. And, it separates. I don't think there's any other Super Bowl champions with the jerky brand. So I think that's the separation.
That is a quality differentiator. I will give you that. So tell us about how this whole company can be traced back to a nickname in the Nebraska locker room that maybe we wouldn't even be here today if that nickname hadn't been applied to you.
Yeah, it was just, everybody has their own nicknames when you're going through, and everybody called me Jurgey or Beef Jurgey, and I love beef. So it was just simple. I don't really have to explain it too much. And so NIL started at Nebraska, and some of the people in the creative department wanted to make us logos. And, they came and asked a few of us if they could make our logo. And so we can, make a t-shirt or whatever we wanted to start a brand or a business. And so I just told them, all right, well, everybody calls me Beef Jurgey. Can you make like a bowl for my logo? And so took off from then, threw it on a t-shirt, and then started selling some jerky and figuring out distributors and going through the whole process of that. But yeah, I think if my last name wasn't Jurgens, I probably wouldn't have a jerky business.
Nicknames also apply to you, Stephon, because your nickname from since you were very little, Starbury, is also a brand, was a brand. Tell us about launching that brand and what made that brand different, because it was very different. There was something about it that was very unique.
Well, my nickname came from playing basketball, obviously, from playing in New York. So, obviously, let's go next. I couldn't resist. Sorry. I got mad love in Philly. AI, my man. That's my brother. Got mad love for AI. But yeah, so they started calling me Starbury when I was in high school. My last name, and then they just put from a kid from Coney Island they were calling me a shooting star from Nightline, doing Nightline. So getting that nickname and then applying it to my brand for shoes and clothes, where I sold shoes for $14.98 for kids, $15. Trying to create access for all. So applying what I did on the basketball court with creating access for people who look like me, who grew up like in the projects without being able to have access to buy affordable shoes, to play basketball, and let alone to wear shoes. So I create this brand with my name, and I attach what I believe could create change for athletes, especially kids that play basketball, knowing shoes don't cost $150, $200. So making shoes and then allowing kids to be able to buy them on their own, that created access for all. So that's what the brand was really about.
And yeah, please. Was that the thing that was important to you? Was the accessibility and the $15 shoes? Was there someone, when you said, I want these shoes to cost $15, said, whoa, no, we got to charge more than that, and then you held your ground, or?
No, when I found out that it didn't cost that much to make the shoes, and then I said, oh, well, it wasn't about making money, it was about the message. It was about allowing kids to know that they can go to a store, buy a pair of shoes at this price point, shoes and clothes, and do this on their own. They didn't need their parents to do this. They could literally save their own monies that they made to go do this for themselves. So we were teaching kids something completely different, along with allowing them to know that they had access to something that they thought cost so much, but it doesn't cost that much to make.
Right. And in the future, I understand maybe there's more to come for Starbury. You're going to build it back up, or
Yes, I am.
we're trying to keep a lid on that, or can we go public with that?
No, I'm gonna come back out with it. It's just, with all of the things that's going on in the world with tariffs and, it's hard.
Yeah.
Especially trying to sell product at a price point that's affordable for people. So for me to be able to have the ability to have a vertical platform from China to America to sell products to people at an affordable price, it's a blessing, but it's still a challenge. So coming back with the brand is something that has to happen. That's one of the reasons why I gave up 15 years of my life to go to another country to learn how to do something for myself and not have somebody have to tell me how to do it.
Yeah. So Cam, unlike Stephon, you are still juggling being a professional athlete and an entrepreneur. How active are you in Jurgey during the off season, which we're in right now, and do you do much during the regular season, and how do you juggle that?
Yeah, I try. It's always tough during the season. I feel like I just got to make sure the main thing stays the main thing. And, that's football, and that's my main job, and that's my source of income. And so I always try to, in the off season, I pick up a lot more with Jurgey. But the main thing during the year is just making sure I got a good crew around me, and I'm able to work with good people. And so that's just the main thing, is making sure things are still going smoothly, when I'm operating it or when I'm not.
You guys both know a lot about what makes a good team. When you're hiring somebody, what key attributes do you look for, whether it's a coder or someone, one of the first employees at Jurgey? How do you view hiring?
I think just finding people that you work well with and people you can trust. And, I'm still going through that process of, getting to the point where we're big right now to where we need to start hiring more people. And it's just trying to find people that you can trust and you can work with, and things are good in that department. And you feel like you want to build and keep growing your relationship together and, building the business together. You're going to do that. And so it's still like a thing I'm trying to navigate and figure out. But that's just the main thing I've took away. It's like find people that you can trust, and maybe they have answers, maybe they don't, but as long as they know how to find them and they're willing to work, like that's just the main thing that matters.
Stephon, you've had several ventures over the years. I'm sure you've had a lot of, hiring, great hires, mistake hires. Tell us about how you view hiring.
Yeah, what he said, trust, that's major. But I've evolved to the space where I try to work with like-minded people. So if I could find people that have the same mind as me, I'm a God-fearing man, so it's way easier to communicate with people who vibrate in the same space when making certain decisions. Because when you're making certain decisions, when it's dealing with millions of dollars, you want to work with people who you feel like if they make a decision, you don't have to think about the decision that they made when they made that decision for a company that is trying to scale up, trying to do something in a positive way. So that's how I pretty much try to pick the people who I work with and people who I feel like I could grow with and who I want to be with, opposed to being with people who can help me make a lot of money, but be with people who want to help other people.
Delegation is always hard for entrepreneurs because you start something yourself and then you feel like you don't want to let it go and give that trust to other people to do that job as you grow and scale. Did you have to learn delegation? Did it come naturally to you? Tell us about that.
No, it didn't come naturally. You learn and you learn. It's like trusting somebody with your basketball game, right? When somebody try to tell you, oh, you should shoot this way, or when somebody tell you how to shoot the basketball, that's a big thing. And a guy named George Gervin, I don't know if people know him, but he's a famous basketball player. He changed my basketball shot. And when he told me why he wanted me to change my shot, it made sense, but it didn't make sense with the process of changing it. And I say that because I always try to find people who can speak life into what it is that I'm trying to do with my brands or my companies or whatever it is that I'm doing. And that's basically what I try to look for.
So you've been a player and a coach of professional basketball players.
Yeah.
What have you learned from being on the coaching side, managing personalities, that has helped you in business?
You put all of the players inside of the bag and you deal with them individually opposed to trying to deal with them as a whole. That's what I learned as a coach. I try to get them to do things that I thought that they should be capable of doing, but not understanding that all of the work that I did to do what I did on the basketball court, they didn't do that, and they're not there yet. So coaching them and teaching them, opposed to trying to force them to do something, but teach them and allow them to grow. And I learned that in business. Same thing, I had to switch it in reverse, where I had to let other people teach me and tell me things, but had to learn on my own though. I had to go through the process. Business is a forever going process. It never stops, especially, when you're dealing with a lot of money. But I think I try to relate everything to basketball because that's something that I challenge myself at. I wish I would've did that on a lot of other things, but that's one of the things that I did do it in.
We'll be right back after a quick break.
What does the future hold for business? Can someone invent a crystal ball? Until then, over 42,000 businesses are future-proofing with NetSuite by Oracle, the #1 AI cloud ERP, bringing accounting, financial management, inventory, and HR into one platform. With real-time insights and forecasting, NetSuite helps you anticipate the future so you can set sights on your next phase of growth. Get your free product tour at netsuite.com/Inc5000.
Speaking of money, I forgot to congratulate you, Cam, on your 4-year extension that's going to keep you in Philadelphia through 2028.
Thank you.
Am I right that Jurgey is still a bootstrapped operation? You haven't raised outside investment?
Yeah, that's correct. It's still, we're growing slowly and, growing organically and, keeping it small. Trying to make sure we're careful with that. It's kind of my baby, making sure, don't want to grow it too fast and have to deal with too many headaches at once. We're trying to make sure we can control everything that's coming our way. And, with everything that's going on the field and off the field, there's a lot of opportunities coming our way with the business. And it's just making sure we're specific in how we handle that. It's got to be careful, be able to say no to certain things and grow it the right way.
So you've mentioned NIL a couple of times. You've partnered with some college athletes for some endorsement deals to help Jurgey grow. Do you want to do more of that? Do you think that every business should be looking at NIL because it's a new burgeoning form of partnership that could help companies grow?
Yeah, definitely. I feel like our company grew through NIL, and so it was just neat getting to work with a college and getting to sell jerky with them and raise money for their NIL program, and it goes directly back to all the athletes, playing all the football, sports, everything that's going on, and so it's just neat to give back to athletes right now because that's where I grew the business, and it's kind of crazy to think I even got to a point where we could do that, and looking forward to growing it even more so we can work with just a ton of colleges around the country and give back even more.
Can you just tell us about, was it like a social media post deal? What college was it? Who are the players? How many players that you got?
Yeah, we're working with Iowa State, and we got into a bunch of Hy-Vees around there, which is like a giant store around here. So just selling jerky and just raising all the profits are going towards the NIL program there, and all the NIL money gets split between all the student athletes at Iowa State. So it's just neat knowing that our money's going towards every single student athlete there, instead of, kind of how it's going right now with different athletes where it seems like just 1% of the guys on the team are getting the money. So it's just neat knowing it gets spread everywhere.
Stephon, what about Chamelo and NIL deals? What's your take?
Soon.
Soon? Okay.
Soon.
What about partnerships in general? Have partnerships been a growth lever for your business?
Yeah, we just did a partnership with Jose Reyes. He played baseball for the Mets. He has a super huge fan base in the Latin community. We're working and speaking with some other actors and some basketball players, some guys from the Knicks. But my first big partnership was with the Knicks. So, it's kind of like now my team is like, so what about the Yankees? I'm like, slow down, dude. Yeah, I'm like, this different lane. But to be able to have a partnership with the Knicks and for us to be inside of Madison Square Garden selling exclusively, it gives us a great big presence. As he said, growing fast is something that we have to watch as well because it's technology, and when it's as sophisticated as it is, we're not in the era of where we have robots making our products right now. So, it hasn't advanced that far. But for us, looking at all of the future of eyewear and technology and the future of NIL, we think that it's great partnerships that can be made with different colleges and different teams.
Is educating consumers about technology in the eyewear space, is that challenging? Google Glass didn't happen famously, and trying to say, that's not what we're doing here. Talk about educating consumers about what your company does,
Okay, so the technology basically is better to show you.
Oh, we should have all three had these on. Damn.
Okay, so when you have the glasses on, right, if you're driving and you're out and you have your glasses and the lens can change as the sun comes and it sets. You don't have to put your visor down. Normally, you gotta look for your sunglasses if you have your readers on, like myself, close to almost 50. But this technology that allows you to go in and out so you can see when you go in and out, right? So it could go dark from light. And then we added features with other styles where we have the technology is inside of the glasses, inside the lens, because it's a liquid crystal layer that lays on top of the glass. And then we put music where you can listen to speakers inside the glasses where you can listen to the music or you can talk on the phone. The next versions will have where you have navigation inside of your glasses when you're driving. You don't need to look at your navigation anymore if you want to use it. And everything is voice activation. So it'll tell you exactly what you want. You could turn it off. It'll have dimmers inside it. You can talk to it. So, and the technology can also go inside of sunroofs of Tesla Ys. We made a template for it to go into Tesla Y cars, and it also will go inside of the buildings in New York City. So it dims, so all of the windows that you see that has drapes and blinds in the next 5 to 10 years, we foresee that not to be there anymore, which would save money from energy, from electricity, from turning it all the way up, and putting it all the way down. These dimmers will have 0.9 seconds where you could press a button or voice activation, and it'll dim or change the light.
Wow, it sounds like there's a lot coming down the pike in the world of Chamelo. Cam, aside from having 2 jobs, what's the most challenging aspect of growing Jurgey in these early years?
I think what I was talking about earlier was just so many opportunities that we have and a lot of things that we're able to do. We just have to be smart and conscious and be able to say no to certain things. And we're limited with how big we are and don't want to grow too fast. And So I think the biggest challenge is obviously time restraints, and everybody that's working here, we got jobs, and this is like it's our side job that's turned into something much bigger, and we're so excited to grow. It's always a dream, to play in the NFL, and when you get to this spot and this is all is football, and so many guys retire from professional sports and they don't have anything to fall back on. And so, this is my dream to grow a business, especially jerky, something I love dealing with. And so when I retire, I got something I can fall back on and work with. And so that's kind of the big goal, and to keep growing it throughout time. And, hopefully I'm playing in the league for a long time. And so this can keep growing, and it'll be a lot bigger by the time I retire.
So do you have specific goals, like we want to try to get distribution in this store, that store? Any specific goals for 2025 that you're trying to hit? Any revenue milestones or anything like that? Or
Yeah, I think the main thing is just getting into stores in Philly. This is a really big market for that, and just getting in there and making sure we get everything set up with distribution, and getting into the stores that we can, and make sure we're smart and strategic about it. We got such a great product. I think that's the key thing. If you have a bad product, it's not going to sell, and nobody's going to want it. It doesn't matter who the person is selling it. So we got an incredible product. It's made right here in Pennsylvania. It's good beef. It's high quality ingredients, and it's everything that people want from a beef jerky. It's my favorite beef jerky I've ever had, and the reviews have been incredible. And I think the main thing is just getting it in people's hands. So I think that's the key thing, is just getting it into stores in the area.
Some people, I feel like they hear beef jerky and they think, snap into a Slim Jim, junk food. But beef jerky is actually high in protein, low calorie. It's a very healthy snack, actually. Do you think enough people know that, or do you think that the category has kind of a semi-stigma attached to it for just being junk food?
Yeah, I think so. When you pull up to a gas station, you get a Slim Jim, it doesn't really always taste like beef. It's different, and that's what we're trying to avoid. We want good quality beef with good ingredients, and in a world we live in today, everything is just so processed and so unhealthy for you. So we're trying to do something that tastes good, and it's good for you. And it's just simple. We're using beef, and we're using good ingredients, and you're just taking it and you're drying it out. The process is so much easier, when you get into those monster stores like a Slim Jims, and you taste something and it's like, it doesn't even taste like any meat that I've had, but it tastes good and people get hooked on it, and that's wrong. So I think, it's an easy thing to make, and some people overcomplicate it to, get higher returns in the market and things like that. And so it's a fun process that we're navigating.
And it travels well. It's a very convenient product for, on the go. Stephon, specific goals for 2025 for Chamelo? Anything, your milestones you're trying to hit?
We just want more people to become aware of what we're doing and check the product out.
All right. We'll look out for the NIL deals, the endorsement deals that come down the pike. Cam, you've won the Super Bowl. You've been named to the Pro Bowl. What is the equivalent feeling in entrepreneurship of exhilaration that you hope to one day have? What's the, take Jurgey public one day? How do you kind of strive for success in the business world? How do you think about that?
I think just when we started this, started with my mom and, one of my best friends who played right guard with me at the time. And so we just created this business together. And I initially thought, it's one of my best friends. I would love to, stay close with him and grow this business together. And, but my number one goal is, my mom's got a big piece of the pie here and with my company. And so I just want to put some money in her pocket. And so that's like the major goal of the whole deal. And so growing that for us, and so it's pretty fun. We got a cool story attached to it, and so it means a lot to me. So got to make sure we handle it the right way and put it into the most important stores we can.
And are you butting heads with your dad over how much time your mom devotes to jerky versus the family farm? Is that a source of tension at all, or?
Well, my mom is a retired school teacher. She just retired a couple years ago. So she's got a lot of time on her hands, and, she enjoys working with the business, and no trouble there.
Okay. So are there any brands that when you were starting this, you said, I love the way their packaging works, or I love the ethos or the mission behind this brand? Were there any brands that you kind of had like an inspo board saying like, let's try to be like them with our own brand, Jurgey?
Somewhat. We just looked at so many brands, whether it came from, we liked the marketing on a lot of different brands, or we liked how a certain bag looked or the story of something, and making sure we tried all these different jerkies and the ingredients that went into it. So I feel like we pulled a little bit from everything and tried to keep it as close to, our story and where our goals wanted to go. And so I don't think we can narrow down to anything. I feel like we looked at like 100 different jerky brands, and I was a little overwhelmed at first. I was like, I didn't know there was this many jerky brands out there. Yeah, I mean, it is a big market.
What about Chamelo and Eyewear brands that you looked at to aspire to be like or be better than?
No, we really have our own lane, which is one of the best things about the technology because of the speed of the dimming of, the transition of the lens. But for us, we want to be able to work with Luxottica. We want to be able to be friends with everybody for the technology to be utilized by not just Chamelo one day, for it to spread amongst the whole world, for everybody to have it, because it's different and it's something that's useful and needed.
Well, thank you guys so much for bringing your A game to this panel. It was a real pleasure talking to both of you. Cheers.
That's all for this episode of From the Ground Up. Our producers are Blake Odom and Avery Miles, with help from Sam Gebauer and Hawa Otori. Editing by Matt Toder. Mix and sound design by Nicholas Torres. If you haven't already, subscribe to all Ink podcasts on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen.